Right, so quick video about some gin traps. I'm going to do a couple of videos about this, and we'll do some kind of like the history, the setting, there was banned and all that, and we'll see if we can show some techniques. So I've got a couple here. Now the strange thing is, so far as I can find out, originally gin traps weren't invented for animals. And a lot of people believe gin traps was originally invented as man traps to catch poachers. That's where they reckon the first instances would have came from, like these, if you know what I mean. And then they obviously shrunk them down and made them the right size for animals. Well, obviously a bear trap, that would be exactly the same trap for a man, I suppose. And they reckon that was in about the 1600s that you could find the first known ones of these, but they was giant big ones. And the name gin, they reckon, comes from engine. So similar to Leonard Maskell's, his book, A Book of Engines and Traps. But they reckoned that any device that worked independently of man was regarded as an engine. So because once you've set these and you leave them, they work on their own, they used to call them an engine, and then from that it kind of got shortened down from engine to gin. That's where they reckon that came from. They also made loads of different variations and different sizes, and I've seen ones where these two are pretty common, but you've got two types here, one with a flat kind of leaf spring and one with a coiled spring made out of wire, thick gauge wire. Well, they also did other ones what it was cut off here and it had a normal spring that shot up like that. Different types of triggers. I've got a homemade type which I'll show you, which has got a different type of trigger which is more simple than others. So loads of different variations, loads of different sizes. So another thing they used to like doing is, I'll just give you an example. So let's just say, for example, this is a gin trap what would work with animals like rats, and this is a gin trap which would work with, say, rabbits. Well, I'm not saying these are, but this is, as an example for size wise. If you was trying to catch rats in something like this, what they used to say is the trap would go off and get the rat by the leg, because these are leg hold traps. Catch the rat by the leg, but because they haven't got muscly legs, it would either cut the leg off or near enough, cut it down to the bone where the rat could just either pull its leg off or just chew it off quickly. So what they used to say was, if that's, say, the rat size one, don't bother with that. Use the rabbit size one and use it like a body grip trap, and you would use a larger size so the rat stepped in further and this got him round the body rather than round the leg. But essentially they are leg hold traps, but you could use it as a body grip trap in different circumstances. So they was banned in 1954. A lot of people say they was banned in 1958, but they reckon actually they was banned in 1954, and they gave everyone a 4-year transitional period to kind of swap over and change. And I suppose essentially most people had to kind of swap over to things like this. Not these ones, exact ones, but similar traps. So they had to go from the gin trap to things like fen traps. And to be honest, in my opinion, I could understand a lot of them didn't like that, and I could understand why. Setting a gin trap is a lot easier than setting a fen trap. Sounds weird. I don't know whether the springs are weaker on these, but the method is safer in my opinion. But because these was leg hold traps, and these, they're very crude and they're very, they're just made to grab an animal by the leg or kill it like a body grip trap, but wherever. So they were kind of, you know, inhumane and cruel. You're really better off if you could either completely uninjure an animal or just kill it outright. But the setting of them was easy. Now, there's quite a lot of different ways you can set them. It sounds weird, and a lot of people kind of had certain methods. But the safest way really is if you get these down and throw that one up. Oh, so I can do it this way round. Because you can get this one and your finger isn't being touched by anything. Because even if that goes off, it's not going to get you. I hope that made sense. Alright, now don't want to keep setting these off because they're quite old. But what I'm going to try and do is we'll try and do some videos of setting something, like either setting these up or I have to make one, because I don't want to break these or break the springs. Because even though these, you think if these was banned in 1958 in England, oh, and the strange thing was it was banned in 1971 in Scotland, so they carried on for about, you know, another quite a lot of years. But either one, if they're banned in 1971 in Scotland, if these were Scottish or English, these are fairly old traps. I don't want to ruin them, so I don't mind setting them a bit. I don't want to keep doing it and then setting them off with a twig or something, because that will break them. So what have we got so far? It's banned in 1954 with a 4-year transitional period to get used to, you know, going on to other ones. Essentially banned because they was regarded as inhumane, because they are just really leg hold traps. So, oh, and I think in the old days you used to just, a blacksmith would just make them. You know, you perhaps show him one or show him a design and he would just make them. There wasn't just, you know, at very first. Later on, companies started kind of making them, because this one has on it, it has here Defiance. You can't really see it, you may be able to see it. Defiance there. But all sorts of different trigger mechanisms and how easy they are to make. I know this one's only made out of aluminium, but it just shows if you was good at working with steel or iron, you could make one relatively easy. And I made this when I was quite young, so essentially it's not that powerful, but this has got a different type of trigger. So it nearly got me then. I should have put my hand here to set it, because in that way if it goes off it doesn't get you. Luckily I want a powerful one. This one doesn't matter if I set it off, but you see the trigger plate is just holding the spring down rather than these ones like this. Right, don't quote me if I'm wrong, because I often get a couple of things mixed up, but so far as I can remember, this type of trigger, it was a common trigger, or it was a trigger they made, would have been called a bridgeless. I think it's a bridgeless trigger. So if this part, if I'm remembering right, if this part is the bridge, then this one's a bridgeless trigger. And it was all it was doing was they was just trying to simplify the gin traps. So what they would also do is you know, different types of springs. I've seen one which hinged here at the back and it has a spring underneath here. One where this is all completely gone and it's just this part. It's all exactly the same, but you've got a spring what shoots up here. All sorts of different ones, round ones what fit on poles. And they used to regard these gin traps as, you know, the best trap that you could get in England. And then later on they started, you know, people started making more of giving them different names like the Dorset trap and stuff like that. So, oh yeah, so also I've seen another thing about some techniques for setting them. Like I said, there's quite a few different techniques for setting them, and also a technique for setting it in the rabbit's run and to stop it going off. And essentially you would have a stick like this in here. It'd have to be thicker than this, but a stick in here to keep that plate up in the air, and then you would hold it there as you set it in, and then it will stop it going off. But what we'll do, we'll look into that a bit more when we do some kind of setting videos on them. But like I said, I don't want to keep using these too much, so I may use one of these, or I may have to make another one, and I'll try and do it exactly the same shape, size and everything, or at least the jaws and this part exactly the same size. This part doesn't actually matter, we can do that any way we like. We'll try and do it here exactly the right size of what they would have used, and then we can do some, because I know they used to like setting these, especially for rabbits, inside the entrance of the rabbit hole, like you would do with a fen trap. Just trying to think of any other things I could tell you for now. They really, I think, you know, they really liked them a lot. I don't think they was very pleased when they had to switch over to stuff like these. And this is, you know, this is a Mark IV, I think, fen trap. So there was obviously a few more before this, what they probably didn't really like before it came to it. Like I said, I find these easier to set, or they don't feel so bad to set than these. But you know, but then I also find a BMI Magnum body grip trap or a 110 Connie Bear easier to set and safer to set than a fen trap. Right, so what I'll do soon is I'll do some more videos, see if I can do some outside. I've got a lot more info I can share, because as well as having traps, you had to have other accessories that went with it. A trapper's hammer or a combination hammer, kind of sieves and stuff for sieving earth over, because these had to be kind of set into the ground, you know, just like modern American leg hold traps. It's no different, but you know, obviously these are banned now. And there's a lot of really good info about you know, kind of historically putting your pegs in, how far to hammer them, different types of soils, you know, how deep you want to hammer them, how long you want to make your pegs. I've got some other kind of old-fashioned stuff as well I might be able to do some videos on. Old traditional snares again, things like that. Right, anyway, cheers for watching. Oh, actually, before I go, if anyone wonders where I've been for a little while, that's because I've been swapping rooms over. So you might notice later on it's going to look a little bit different in here, because I'm in a different room now. But anyway, right, so that's a little bit about gin traps. If you've got any info, you know anything, or I've missed anything out or said anything wrong, then just let me know. Because it's quite a lot to remember, and you know, always doing a video, it's quite hard to remember everything. Probably lots of missed out, lots of useful info, but right, so give us a comment, you know, if you know anything else. Right, cheers for watching, I'll see you later.